What if the dirtiest, most overlooked coin in your pocket could be worth a fortune? Hidden among old jars and forgotten drawers, rare wheat pennies are shocking collectors with values reaching thousands, even tens of thousands, of dollars. These tiny copper coins carry mysterious errors, rare dates, and secret mint marks that most people never notice. One small detail could turn a worthless-looking penny into a life-changing discovery. But here's the twist: not all wheat pennies are valuable. Only a few rare ones hold the real treasure. What if I told you a dirty, forgotten coin sitting in your pocket right now could be worth big money, real, life-changing value? I'm talking hundreds, thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars, all hidden inside a single 1940 wheat penny. And the shocking part? Most people would spend it without ever knowing. Now listen closely, because this story starts in a time of uncertainty, the year 1940. The world was on the brink of chaos, and the United States was quietly preparing for what would soon become World War II. During this time, millions of pennies were struck, but not all of them were made the same. Some of them carry hidden treasure, tiny mistakes, rare features, secrets that collectors today are willing to pay huge money for. And here's where it gets crazy. A simple 1940 wheat penny. Yes, the same one that looks old, dirty, and completely worthless, has been discovered in collections and even pocket change, later selling for hundreds and even thousands of dollars. But only if you know exactly what to look for. So let's break it down. First, you need to identify the coin correctly. Look at the front. This is called the obverse. You'll see Abraham Lincoln's profile. Just below his shoulder, you'll find the date, 1940. That's your starting point. Now flip it over. On the back, you'll see two wheat stalks on each side. This is why it's called a wheat penny. Right in the center, it says 1 cent and United States of America. But here's where things start to separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. Look just below the date on the front. Do you see a tiny letter? This is the mint mark, and it can completely change the value of your coin. If there's no letter, it was minted in Philadelphia. If you see a D, it came from Denver. And if you spot an S, that means San Francisco, and sometimes, those are the ones that bring big money. Now here comes your first shock. A 1940 S wheat penny in high-grade condition has sold for over $5,000 at auction. Yes, $5,000 for a 1-cent coin. But wait, it gets even better. The real hidden treasure lies in errors. One of the most exciting errors to look for is something called a double die. This happens when the coin is struck twice slightly off alignment, creating a shadow like doubling in the letters or numbers. Check the word Liberty on the front. Look closely at the date. If you see doubling, clear separation in the lines, you could be holding a coin worth hundreds or even thousands. And here's a true story that will blow your mind. A collector once found a 1940 wheat penny in a jar of old coins. It looked completely ordinary, dirty, worn, nothing special. But when they examined it under magnification, they discovered a subtle doubling in the lettering. That coin later sold for over $1,200. Now imagine that happening to you. But don't stop there, because the next detail is even more important. Look at the color of your coin. This is something most people ignore, but collectors don't. If your penny is a bright, original red color, it's called a red coin, and these are the most valuable. A 1940 red wheat penny in mint condition can reach $10,000 or more. If it's a mix of red and brown, it's still valuable, but less so. And if it's fully brown, like most old coins, don't lose hope. Even brown coins with rare errors or in excellent condition can still bring serious money. Now here's another shocking twist. Check the rim of your coin. The edge should be smooth and even. But if you notice anything unusual, like a thicker rim, uneven shape, or signs of being off-center, you might have what's called an off-center strike error. These errors can push the value of a 1940 wheat penny into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on how dramatic the error is. And yes, people are actively searching for these right now. Let me reset your attention with something even crazier. Some 1940 wheat pennies were struck on the wrong metal planchets. While extremely rare, these mint mistakes can turn a simple penny into a life-changing value coin worth tens of thousands. Now think about that. A coin that looks old, dirty, maybe even damaged, could secretly be worth more than your monthly salary, or even more. This is why collectors call it hidden treasure. And here's the truth most people don't realize. Condition matters, but not always in the way you think. Even a worn 1940 wheat penny can be valuable if it has the right combination of mint mark, error, and detail. That's why you should never ignore an old and dirty coin. Because inside that pile, there could be big money, hidden treasure, a life-changing value waiting to be discovered. What if I told you a dirty, worn-out penny from 1941, something most people wouldn't even pick up off the ground, could be hiding big money, real, life-changing value? I'm talking hundreds, thousands, even over $10,000 from a single coin you might already have. Sounds unbelievable? Stay with me, because this is where things get shocking. The year was 1941. The world was on edge, and within months, the United States would be pulled into World War II. Coin production was massive, rushed, and under pressure. Millions of pennies were struck, but in that chaos, mistakes were made. Tiny, almost invisible errors that today have turned ordinary coins into hidden treasure. And here's the scary part. Most people still don't know what to look for. So let's start with the basics, because one small detail could change everything. Take your coin and look at the front. You'll see Abraham Lincoln's portrait. Right below his shoulder is the date, 1941. That's your first checkpoint. Now look just under the date. Do you see a small letter? If there's no letter, it's from Philadelphia. If there's a D, it's from Denver. And if there's an S, it came from San Francisco. Now here comes your first shock. A high-grade 1941 S wheat penny has sold for over $7,000 at auction. Yes, $7,000 for a coin most people would call junk. But don't relax yet, because it gets even crazier. Flip the coin over. You'll see the classic wheat design. 2 wheat stalks framing the words, 1 cent. This is what collectors call the wheat penny, and it was minted from 1909 to 1958. But the real value isn't just in the date. It's in the details. Let me reset your attention with something powerful. There are 1941 wheat pennies out there right now with doubling errors, and these are some of the most valuable. A double die error happens when the coin design is stamped twice, slightly misaligned. The result? Letters and numbers that look like they're shadowed or doubled. Look closely at Liberty and In God We Trust. If you see clear doubling, especially with separation in the lines, you could be holding a coin worth $500 to $3,000 or more. And yes, people have found these in old jars. Now imagine this. Someone inherits a small box of coins. They almost throw it away. But one coin looks slightly off. Under a magnifying glass, they notice doubling on the date. That coin later sells for over $1,500. That's not luck, that's knowledge. Now let's talk about something most people completely ignore, but collectors obsess over. Color. This is huge. Now here's another twist. Check the rim of your coin. Run your finger along the edge. Does it feel normal? Or is it uneven, thicker in some spots, or slightly off-center? Because if your coin was struck off-center, even by a small percentage, it becomes a rare error coin. Off-center 1941 wheat pennies have sold for $100 to over $1,000, depending on how dramatic the error is. And here's where things get even more intense. Some 1941 pennies were struck on the wrong metal planchets. These are incredibly rare, but when they appear, they can bring life-changing value. We're talking thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars. Now imagine holding that in your hand and not knowing it. Let me hit you with another shocking reset. Condition alone can change everything. A worn, dirty 1941 penny might be worth just a few cents. But the exact same coin, in mint condition with sharp details and original shine, could be worth hundreds or thousands. That's why collectors look at every tiny detail. Lincoln's hair, the wheat lines, the sharpness of the lettering. Because the difference between average and extraordinary is often microscopic. And here's a real moment from the auction world. A stunning 1941 wheat penny, graded in near perfect condition with full red color, sold for over $11,000. That's a verified sale. Not a guess. Not hype. Real money. And coins like that didn't start in museums. They started in circulation. They passed through hands, pockets, stores, and somehow survived. Which means one thing. There could still be more out there. Right now? In your home. In your drawer. In that jar of old coins you haven't touched in years. This is what makes coin collecting so powerful, so addictive. Because every single coin you check could be hidden treasure. What if I told you, dirty 1942 penny? Yes, the kind most people ignore or throw into a jar, could be worth big money, real, life-changing value. I'm talking hundreds, thousands, and in some shocking cases, even over $10,000 from a single coin. It sounds impossible, but it's happening. The year 1942 was unlike any other. The United States had just entered World War II after Pearl Harbor attack, and everything changed overnight. Copper was desperately needed for ammunition and military equipment. The U.S. Mint was under pressure, rushing production, experimenting with metals, and pushing machines to their limits. And in that chaos, mistakes were made. Those mistakes are now considered hidden treasure. Let's start with what you need to see first. Pick up your coin and look at the front. You'll see Abraham Lincoln. Just below his shoulder is the date, 1942. That's your target. Now look carefully under the date. This tiny detail could mean the difference between 1 cent and thousands. If there's no letter, it's from Philadelphia. A D means Denver. An S means San Francisco. And here's your first shock. A high-grade 1942 D wheat penny has sold for over $6,000. That's not hype. That's real auction data. But don't stop there, because the real money is in the details most people miss. Flip the coin over. You'll see the wheat stalks. This is the famous wheat penny design used from 1909 to 1958. But what you're really hunting for are errors. Let me wake you up with this. One of the most valuable 1942 penny errors is the D over horizontal D mint mark. Yes, you heard that right. On some coins, the Denver mint mark was punched incorrectly, then corrected. Under magnification, it looks like a sideways D underneath the normal one. Coins like this have sold for $500 to over $2,000, depending on condition. Now imagine spotting that on a coin you almost ignored. But it gets even crazier. There are 1942 wheat pennies with double die errors. This is where the design appears slightly doubled, especially in the date, Liberty, or In God We Trust. Look closely. If the letters seem shadowed or split, you might be holding something special. These can bring $300, $1,000, even $3,000 or more. And yes, people are still finding them. Now let's talk about something most collectors obsess over, but beginners completely miss. Color. This is where things jump from ordinary to life-changing value. If your 1942 penny is bright, original red, like it just left the mint, it's extremely rare. These are called red coins. A 1942 red wheat penny in near perfect condition has sold for over $10,000. Think about that. A 1-cent coin worth 5 figures. If your coin is red-brown, it still has solid value. And even if it's dark brown, don't lose hope. Brown coins with errors or sharp detail can still bring big money. Now here's another shocking detail you need to check immediately. The rim. Run your finger along the edge. Look closely. If the rim is uneven or part of the design is missing, your coin might be an off-center strike. These errors happen when the coin isn't properly aligned during minting. Even a small off-center error can be worth $100 to $500. More dramatic ones, they can reach into the thousands. Now let me hit you with something even more intense. In 1943, the U.S. Mint switched to steel pennies to save copper. But in 1942, they were experimenting. That means some 1942 coins show unusual metal characteristics or transitional features. While extremely rare, coins from this period with wrong planchets or unusual compositions can bring massive, life-changing value. We're talking serious collector demand. Now imagine this scenario. A man finds an old jar of coins in his attic. Dusty, forgotten, ignored for decades. He almost throws them out, but decides to take a closer look. One coin stands out. A 1942 penny with strange doubling. He sends it for grading. That coin sells for over $2,500. That's the power of knowledge. And here's another truth most people don't realize. Condition is everything, but not in the way you think. Even a worn, old and dirty 1942 penny can be valuable if it has a rare error. At the same time, a flawless coin with no errors can still bring thousands just because of its condition and color. Collectors look at everything. Lincoln's hair detail, The sharpness of the wheat lines, the clarity of the lettering. Tiny details, huge money. And here's a real auction moment that proves it. A stunning 1942 wheat penny, graded in near perfect red condition, sold for over $12,000. That's not a guess. That's documented. And coins like that didn't start as collectibles. They started as everyday pocket change. Which means something very important for you. There could still be more out there. Right now? In circulation decades ago, passed down, forgotten, waiting. This is why people call coin collecting the ultimate treasure hunt.